Good. Either one you'd like.
Well, first of all, welcome to Clackamas County.
Thank you.
Clackamas County Board Chair John Ludlow. Just so you note, this is one of my alma maters, Clackamas Community. Glad to say I went here and was part of their proud 1971 National Wrestling Championship team. It's interesting to note, and I know Mayor Neely very well, and Carol, that they note that they are the first city. And as well known, the original plat for the city of San Francisco is on file at Oregon City. And they have since asked for it back, and Oregon City has politely declined. We are the first county. You might remember how big that county was. It is now many, many counties. But the Oregon Territory, of course, ran from British Columbia down into California, Northern California. It should be noted that Clackamas County, about 380,000 residents, extends from, of course, wonderful Mount Hood and all the way down south of Salem. That's how big this place is. 52% of our land in Clackamas County is owned by the federal government. Lately, that hasn't worked out too well because we used to experience great revenue that would help us do the things we have to do, including transportation needs. You know, we're all looking for efficient, reliable service at the best cost. When I was in Wilsonville and mayor, and before that very active in the Chamber of Commerce, you know, there was an idea that people had out there, and that was business people who came forward and said we can do it better, faster, cheaper. They demonstrated that in the creating of SMART. Actually, at that time, when we named it, and I was mayor, my idea was to name it WART, Wilsonville Area Rapid Transit. And that worked for a while until another mayor came along and said SMART is at South Metro Regional Transportation. But they've demonstrated that we can do it better, faster, and cheaper. Dial a ride. Almost everything is free out there. And the idea was to really bring home the dollars that were being paid. Now, in Clackamas County, gentlemen, this year, I think, from our businesses, the income per TriMet is around $37 million. It's projected this next year it'll be $39 million. And you look at the lines in the map up above you and you say, can we do it better, faster, and cheaper? Now, I've convened, I'm copying Andy Dyke in Washington County, the chair over there. I thought he had a great idea, and I know Mr. Hughes does it as well, but I convened a private meeting with the mayors of Clackamas County. I call it the chair and mayor's meeting. At that time, I said, you know, are you interested in whether somebody can do it better, faster, and cheaper? And 5 cities spoke up and have since confirmed their interest in studying that. I'm here representing the board who said that certainly I requested this permission to tell you that we are going to engage a study to find out if we can do it better, faster, and cheaper. You look up that map, and certainly you talk about Clackamas County, and I realize that TriMet does not cover all of Clackamas County. But you look at places where you don't serve right now, which are needed. We have the Mountain Express. We believe in transportation. We have the Mountain Express, which runs from Sandy to Timberline Lodge when you're able. We believe in that, and it's necessary. A lot of employees at Timberline now just ride from Sandy up there. It's a lot easier, and they can play with their cell phones while they still have service. But, you know, you think about that area. You think about Colton. You think about the far reaches of Clackamas County. Imola is on their own now, not part of TriMet. Sandy also, Canby, Wilsonville. So it begs the question, if we helped, if we looked at it, if we had partners that would encourage our look at this, and that's all it is currently. 5 cities who say, you know, we need help because we're not getting the service we need to. It is, you know, the board's position that you have too much emphasis on capital-intensive projects at the expense of your bus service. You just talked, you know, Oregon City has talked about what they're losing, what they need. Beyond all that, yesterday when I was at the Oregon City Business Alliance meeting, and it's always nice not to have to chair a meeting. I'm sure you'll agree with that, Bruce. Sometimes it's just nice to sit back and listen to people and ask them questions. We had very, very appropriate and informed TriMet representatives there. And they said, you know, this enhanced lines that we're going to help with to gather in more people from collectors and arterials and bring them down to where they want to go. You heard about some of the times it takes to go from here to there, and it certainly isn't getting better as bus services are cut. But I was the one that asked, yeah, I always ask, what's this going to cost, and who pays for this new enhancement? Now, I think, again, appropriately, your staff said, we don't know that yet, that's another study. But the point of the matter is if there's only a few ways you can get additional monies. One is fare increases, and I bet those people with the signs have something to say about that. I'm just guessing here, all right? So everybody in favor of fare increases, raise your hand. Well, there you go. So the point of the matter is, you know, we, the public, are very concerned about your debt, your model, your business model. How can it sustain itself? If you just take the, let's just call it $1 billion, because I know it's more, $1 billion in debt you really are because of deals you made to unions or whatever, and I'm certain not to saying put this debt on the unions back. But you think about $1 billion in debt, and you say, how are we supposed to pay that off? And I've seen no plan from anybody. I realize you're appointed by the governor. I would ask him to appoint me to the board, but I don't think he'd do it. Because somebody has to have ownership of that $1 billion. Somebody has to say, we owe it. You think about projects like the Columbia River Crossing. You think about transportation, i.e. the commuter rail from Eugene to Vancouver, and our portion of the cost, if the feds go in on it, our portion of the state is $600 million. That puts it in perspective what $1 billion is. So we challenge you to say how you're going to pay that off. Because I think everybody's waiting for the rescue from the state of Oregon because, I mean, they appoint your board, and they certainly have some rules of operation, I'm sure. But somebody has to take ownership and responsibility for that $1 billion. As for Clackamas County, we don't think we're responsible. Some of our cities have really the lack of good service. There's not the frequency that people really need. You talk about Clackamas Community College. You heard how long it takes. Is that great service, outstanding service within the region? No, it is not. We're worried about debt loads. We're worried about retiree health care obligations. And we're worried about your ability to continue to provide adequate service, just adequate service in the long run. I mean, I appreciate that negotiations are tough with the Amalgamated Transit Union, I believe it is, and, you know, and getting concessions from them. But that's small, and that will only put a Band-Aid on one of the 1,000 cuts you have. And so stem the tide of bleeding is one thing, but the original amount, the amount that's continuing to increase, has to be addressed. I can't emphasize that enough. So it makes us all fearful. The Clackamas County Board of Commissioners, certainly the cities, they're going, how is this model sustainable? And it really is not without a huge influx of public funds. So we will study whether all or part of Clackamas County might be served better following our own path, similar to the cities that I've mentioned that have already withdrawn. We realize that there may be legislative barriers to doing this kind of thing, but since I was elected, and the reason I was elected is because I've always believed that certain things people need to vote on. You can call it Selwood Bridge, you can call it urban renewal, you can call it light rail, and more recently the other CRC, our Clackamas Regional Center urban renewal, where there's $48 million to be disposed of, and I believe that's the public's money, the taxpayers' money. In the same sense here, I believe that if we had a vote in Clackamas County as to the efficiency of TriMet and their service and their operations, it wouldn't go well for you. There's a new survey out, and Hibbets et al., funded by public entities about public trust. The public doesn't trust public entities, government, institutions. They don't trust them. I mean, I think the approval rate was like 17 or 18%. So we all have a battle in the eyes of the public to rise up to the level that they expect out of us. And one is financial sustainability, and two is the service you provide. Every year, when we survey the people of Clackamas, every 2 years, Clackamas County, they say public safety is number one. Public safety is a lot of things, the DA, corrections, the court systems, et cetera. But number two is roads. That's how important roads are, is that people still drive on them, you see. And even though the emphasis and the push has been for so long to get people out of those selfish, single-occupied vehicles and get into mass transit, Well, it hadn't worked too well. I mean, I still like the idea that people would have the right to decide what they do and not to allow our freeways to continue to clog. So getting back to, again, the central point here, we appreciate the work that you do with the constraints that you have. We would hope that some of the input here put today by Oregon City, just one of our cities, would help you guide you towards decision-making where you can better serve the people who really pay. We know it's the businesses, and people solicit those businesses, but we need better and more outstanding service in Clackamas County, and we're going to look for a way to provide that fiduciarily to our customers, clients, patrons, taxpayers, stakeholders, if you will. Do you have any questions for me after that?
Questions, comments from the board? Thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you very much for your time.
I will say before you leave,
Yes.
we welcome independent review. We're always looking at ways to provide service better, so please have at it. We look forward to the analysis and work.
Should I have John Charles set his outline on how you could pay back $1 billion?
Well, first off, Mr. Chair, I need to take you to task a bit. I think you need to look very carefully at our debt load. This board is very, very concerned about debt load. We have policies that say our debt shall not exceed 7.5% of our operating budget. I think we're actually at about 5% now. 3.8. Excuse me, 3.8% of our budget right now is for debt. And so we believe we planned that very carefully. We have the resources to pay for it.